Hello and welcome to Mickeyology, where we take Disney a little too seriously. I'm Austin Rathel, and today we're examining Disney's beautiful animated classic, Bambi. Bambi is a unique story because while it features an all-animal cast, humans play a huge role in the story. However, we never see humans on screen. Instead, we see the story entirely from the animal's perspective. This gives the movie a timeless feeling, as if the story could take place in any forest at any time. Still, while the story feels universal, not all forests are home to the same wildlife, and man hasn't always had guns like the one that kills Bambi's mother. Spoiler alert. So the movie couldn't really take place anywhere at any time. Besides, animators couldn't make a film like Bambi without carefully researching real environments. So, what's the movie's true setting? If Bambi was a real story, when and where would it have taken place? That might seem like an impossible question, but if we examine the movie carefully, we can find hidden clues that might reveal the answer. Bambi is the story of a deer, but not just any deer. Bambi is a white-tailed deer, which are native to North America. Bambi also lives in a forest, which are most prevalent in these areas of North America. Bambi's forest also receives significant snowfall in the winter, which occurs most often in the northern region of the continent. All this indicates that Bambi most likely takes place in Canada or the northeastern or northwestern United States. That gives us a clue to where the movie takes place, but when does it take place? To find out, let's examine the clues surrounding the mysterious villain of the movie, man. Man disturbs Bambi's forest several times in the film, and each time we hear the sound of at least one gunshot. Guns first came to the Americas in 1492 when Columbus landed in the Caribbean. Europeans brought them to the mainland soon after. Jamestown's colonists brought guns to Virginia in 1607. These colonists hunted with both their guns and hunting dogs, which we also see in Bambi. Therefore, Bambi must take place during or after the 1600s. While we never see the hunters in Disney's 1942 film, they do appear in a 1979 tie-in book called Bambi Grows Up. An illustration in the book shows two hunters standing in the meadow behind Bambi and his mother. These hunters don't look like English colonists. They're wearing what looks like modern hunting gear. Is this book canon? Maybe, maybe not. At the very least, it tells us that the higher-ups at Disney are okay with the idea that Bambi takes place in modern times. So it's clear that Bambi most likely takes place somewhere in North America between the 17th and 20th centuries. Can we get any more specific than that? Well, the movie itself doesn't give us much more to work with. Luckily, though, we can find a few more clues if we look behind the scenes. Bambi is based on a book by an Austrian author. When Walt Disney adapted the story, he changed the setting of the story from Europe to North America. While many talented men and women worked together to create Disney's Bambi, one artist influenced the film's setting more than any other. Sources say that Walt Disney originally intended to draw inspiration from California and make Bambi a mule deer. However, Disney artist Jake Day insisted that Walt make Bambi a white-tailed deer and said he should base Bambi's world on that of his home state of Maine. Walt challenged Day to prove his point and sent him back to Maine to take photos the other artists could use as reference. Day stayed in Maine for months. Not only did he capture footage of Maine's forests and wildlife in every season of the year, but he also sent 2 live fawns from Maine to the studio for animators to study. Maine became such an influence on the film that when it was finally finished, Walt Disney sent a letter to Maine's governor saying, quote, "We are all very grateful for the wholehearted cooperation and interest your great state gave us during the 5 years Bambi was in the making." All this makes it clear that Bambi takes place in Maine. That tells us where the movie is set, but we still haven't figured out when. However, another behind-the-scenes clue might hold the answer. Disney filmmakers originally planned to give man his comeuppance for killing Bambi's mom and causing the movie's climactic wildfire. Disney artists sketched several versions of a scene that would show a hunter lying dead in the forest beside his gun after the fire. They ultimately decided the scene was too grim and cut it from the film. However, these sketches tell us what kind of gear Disney imagined the hunters in the movie would have. While there's not much detail in these images, the hunter doesn't seem to be wearing old-fashioned colonial clothing. Instead, his clothes, hairstyle, and gun all look pretty modern, just like the gear we see in that Bambi storybook. American hunters began wearing clothing like this at the end of the 19th century. Before that, hunters would simply wear old clothes that they didn't mind getting dirty, but then companies like Duxback began manufacturing clothes specially designed for camping and hunting, giving birth to America's outdoor clothing industry. We see this kind of gear in photos like this, which shows a group of deer hunters in Maine around the year 1890. If Disney envisioned the hunters in Bambi wearing this kind of clothing, they probably imagined the story taking place in or after the late 1800s. By the way, all this fits perfectly with the history of deer hunting in Maine. Deer hunting became a major industry in Maine in the 1800s, and overhunting was one of several factors that caused the deer population to dwindle. Wildfire was another. This alarmed many people in Maine, and the government stepped in to make new rules for deer hunting. In 1886, the government imposed hefty fines for anyone caught hunting deer with dogs. Rules like these weren't strictly enforced at first, but that changed over the next several decades. As time went on, different counties imposed further restrictions on deer hunting until 1925, when Maine's lawmakers imposed a statewide bag limit of 1 deer of either sex. Bambi takes place at a time when the deer population appears to be flourishing.
We're not the only deer in the forest, Thumper told me.
Well, he's right. There are many deer in the forest besides us.
So the movie must take place sometime after the mid-1800s. The movie also takes place at a time when deer hunters are still using dogs. So it probably takes place before 1886, when that became illegal, or shortly after, when officials weren't yet enforcing that rule too strictly. With that, it seems we have enough information to determine when and where Bambi takes place. Based on the movie's environments, technology, and behind-the-scenes information, I'm placing Disney's Bambi in Maine, circa 1890. So, there you have it. That is my theory for when and where Disney's Bambi takes place. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of my conclusions and when and where you think the movie takes place. Also, let me know which Disney movie you would like me to analyze next. I covered this movie today because you requested it, so keep those requests coming in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to help our channel to grow and to make sure you don't miss another video. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.